titled today's devotion, The Cattle in Our Stable. And we're on day 289 of 365 days of walking through the Bible alphabetically. We're on the P words or the P books. And we are spending about a month and a half in the book of Psalms. And we've already went through half of 1 month. So we just have one more month to go, and so we're about a third of the way through Psalms. And if you're following along on the calendar date and just started in today, it is October the 16th. So today's morning rinse, which you'll read, is Psalms 48 through 50. And then the featured verse and what the devotion is about today is Psalm 50:10. For every beast of the forest is mine, the cattle on 1,000 hills. So back in 2018, I began a nonprofit called I Will Rise. And I even created a movie, a documentary called I Will Rise. You can find it on Tubi or YouTube, various platforms. The purpose in my nonprofit was to provide a platform for ways to give back to the community, especially regarding the needs of children and teens. The need for my own personal resources to, hire videographers or buy equipment, it was a constant necessity when, I am marketing or even creating films to expose these needs in the community. And in fact, there have been times that I have admittedly been guilty of praying a prayer very similar to this that would say, Lord, you own the cattle on 1,000 hills. Could I just have one of those hills? And I would laugh when I would pray that, or I would even laugh when I would tell people about it. And I justified the asking by using humor. Well, now when I look back at those conversations way back, 5 years ago or whatever, I have to shake my head, and it's almost like I have a face palm moment, when you hit your face with your palm. I almost have that moment when I'm thinking of those conversations. And, the reason for my asking and kind of using that humorous conversation was pure, but the context was not necessarily in line with the heart of God. He knows our needs, but he does not walk around with a silver platter handing out resources just because we throw scripture at him. I have also been admittedly guilty of reminding him of the sacrifices that I have personally made trying to build my ministry and my nonprofit. Those are not fun conversations to recollect. Well, when Asaph wrote today's featured verse, the people were sacrificing out of habit. And at one point, they did indeed follow God with their whole heart, living a life of authenticity and true love for him. Asaph's words are a reminder to us all that no matter what we sacrifice to God, whether it's money or time or talent, we have to remember the significance of why we do what we do. And it should be to worship him in truth, not in obligation or habit. Our sacrifices will mean nothing if done for the wrong reasons. So Asaph tells us what to sacrifice before we do anything else. Give God a sacrifice of thanksgiving. And that's Psalm 50, 14 through 15. Our situation may need dire help or even a miracle. Our needs may be that deep. But asking God for the cattle before offering thanksgiving is not going to reach his ears effectively. Instead, thank him first for who he is and for what he has done already for us. When I was talking about the book of Nehemiah and going through kind of Nehemiah's business plan, if you will, what was the very first step? It was putting God in his rightful position, thanking God for who he is, putting him there with praise. And when we just go to God and say, you said this in scripture, therefore, can I have it? It just, it showed my immaturity. Let me tell you that. We need to thank him first, no matter what we're going through, no matter what our needs are, no matter what even our friends' needs are, or what we're stressed about, or what we're anxious about, or the challenges of that day. Thank him first for being God and for who he is and for what he has already done for us. I have been guilty of not effectively using the resources that God has already given me. So that's another whole thing. Sometimes we have resources right in the palm of our hands, right in our household. We have what it takes. And yet, how many of us have not effectively used the resources that God has already given us? How many of us have not effectively been good stewards of what he has already given us? And this is, I know I've mentioned this before, of having a gratitude journal, but if we have a gratitude journal, or even just use the journal that I have here, but a gratitude journal is an intentional journal that helps me remain really intentional at thanking him for the cattle or the resources that's already in my stable. Do you get that? I have been guilty of not using the cattle or the resources that are already in my stable, that are already in my house, that are already in my possession, that are already a part of my gifts and talents. And I have been guilty of not, first of all, thanking him for those cattle, but I've also been guilty of not using that cattle for his kingdom. It helps me, having this gratitude journal. And sometimes I get a little out of the habit of writing in it. And then sometimes I'm super great at writing in it. But this gratitude journal helps me to stay focused on thanking him instead of listing the needs for him to supply in the future. This gratitude journal helps me to keep my eyes focused on who he is and not on going to him with my hands outstretched and my palms open to expect him to give back to me when he already has given me so much. The process of writing in this gratitude journal reminds me to ask God to help me use my current cattle to its full potential. Sometimes what we need is already in our stable. I don't know what that means to you, but I know that there are things that I have in my possession, that I have in my heart, that I have as intellect, that I have as a gifting that I don't use. And to expect God to give me more when I'm not using what I already have is not being a good steward, is not being a grateful child of God. And so today's challenge to dig deeper is this. Do you have a gratitude journal? If you don't, buy one today and start writing in it, starting today, even if it's just a few sentences in it. Thank God for the cattle or the resources that you already have. Today is a day of gratitude. Today is a day of recognizing the things that God has already given us in our world. You know, has he given you a car that drives? Great. Has he given you, a clear and sound mind to create? Has he given you purpose and hope? Has he given you a family? Has he given you another day to live on this beautiful earth? Has he given you another chance to forgive? Yes. Has he given you gifts and talents? Are you using them? That whole verse, for every beast of the forest is mine, the cattle on 1,000 hills. I look at it differently now. I don't look at it as, yes, he has all these resources, I guess my heart has changed a lot because I don't want more resources. I want to be effective and flourish and thrive. I want to use the resources that he has already given me to their full potential. And I don't want to squander. I don't want to be unfruitful. I want to be fruitful in what he's given me to do. I want to be effective in the things that he has had me do. I want to be effective in my life right now. And I want to thank him for the cattle that he's already given me. And be excited about using that cattle, those resources, to its full potential. Because yes, he owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. Yes, he does. But I feel like I'm already one of those hills, or a portion of that hill, because he's already given me cattle. So what am I doing with it? I hope that today inspired you to look at the resources in your life and be grateful for the resources that are in your life already that God has given you. Be grateful for the things that he has had you do. I've been in some amazing movies, and I've been able to act and help people with the purchases of their homes, and been in mass choirs, and been in commercials, and I love my life. But I also know that there is more. He helped me write my first book that became a best-selling author. I'm so grateful, and my mind has completely changed with what this verse means. And I hope that you are grateful too for all the things that God has given you, for the cattle in your stable. When you pull out your journal tonight, yes, I'm asking you to journal twice. One is a gratitude journal. And you know what? Oftentimes people will buy a gratitude journal, and that is the very first thing that they do, is they wake up and they write in their gratitude journal every morning. And that's how I like doing it, is being grateful. As soon as I wake up in the morning, writing in my gratitude journal. And I know my daughter has had, planners that have little sections where you can write what you're grateful for every morning. And I think that writing down what you're grateful for in the morning is so vital, and it gets your day going on the right track. And then your spirit is open to looking around you at already the things that you have and the resources and your life, and being grateful. You're already starting your day on a grateful platform, a grateful foundation. And so, the gratitude journal that I've written in the past is just a small one. Every day there might be just like enough lines for a few sentences. You don't have to write a ton, but just get a gratitude journal. If you don't have one, and you've got like a ton of spiral notebooks laying around your house, as like I do, grab one of those. You don't have to go spend money. Grab one of those. Or grab some loose leaf paper and a 3-ring binder if you have those laying around. But whatever you have, just use whatever cattle is in your stable. Be grateful for it and ask God, how can I use the cattle that I already have to be more effective for your kingdom? So when you pull out your evening reflection journal, your rinse, reflect, repeat journal, what are your thoughts about the cattle you already have? What did God show you about the cattle that you already have in your stable? Have you been grateful? Have you been using your resources to the fullness? Have you been able to see fruit from the cattle that is in your stable? Are you ready for a few more heads of cattle? Are you ready for more? Because as we grow and as we use what God has given us already, He'll prepare us for more. He will. And I hope today inspired you to look at this verse a little bit differently. I know I did. And if you don't have my devotional, there's a link in the show notes or in the comments or in the description or wherever you find this, wherever you're watching or listening on your podcast platform. There's a link to purchase my devotional, and also there's a link to purchase the companion journal that goes with this devotional if you don't have a devotional of your own. The companion journal is not a standalone journal. It is just a journal that's specifically for this devotional. So hopefully you have a journal. If not, there's the links. And Christmas is coming up, of course. And as we keep walking through the Psalms, until tomorrow, keep rinsing, reflecting, and repeating. God bless you.